Hello, greetings from Berkshire Guitar Amplifier Repairs in Reading, England. Up on the bench today we have a Marshal JTM45. This is not the original one, this is the JTM45 Mark II model 2245. More modern amp than the 1960s version. The customer says that after a couple of minutes turning on, this makes a popping, buzzing kind of noise and even sometimes screeches a bit. So I think what we'll do is just turn the amp on and see if we can agree with what the customer says. Here we go, I've got the amp plugged in, guitar is in, my house speaker's in at the back, so let's turn it on at the mains. We'll take it out of standby, turn it on, just let it warm up for a minute or so. He says it happens after 2 or 3 minutes, so it might not do anything straight away. Let's have a listen. I can't hear much. Let me just strum the guitar and see. Oh yeah. Okay, so it's actually working good. Oh! I can hear that straight away. Let me... kind of motorboating sound. Interesting. No idea what that is at the moment. Ooh, what an interesting noise. I've never heard that before. Huh. Okay, well, I think we'll get the chassis up on the bench. That always helps. And we can see that's got the feeling of something that will burst any moment now into a kind of sort of noise. You know, it's just about wanting to take off. It's only been about 30 seconds since I turned the camera off. Already you can hear it's changing its character. Okay, it's only been on for a couple of minutes since the last, and you can hear it's motorboating. That's called motorboating for obvious reasons. Sounds like a motorboat puttering along. Ooh, gone a bit quiet now. Interesting. Right, it's not affected at all by controls. Doesn't seem to matter what I do to anything. Stopped now, which is annoying. I hate amps which fix themselves. Not affected by anything. Okay, I think I'll take the chassis out and we'll have a look inside. I'm hoping it's going to perform for us on the bench. Nothing worse than taking a chassis out and it all comes good. Well, as I feared, I'm afraid, exactly what I suspected would happen. I've got the chassis up on the bench, all plugged in, loudspeaker, mains, the whole thing, and it's all working fine. You can probably hear the hum. And nothing, of course, no motorboating, no oscillation, nothing. I've had a little bit of a tap around, you know, just in case. These wires are a bit sensitive, but they are on the preamp side, so I would expect that. Nothing. Very annoying. You often get this. You take the chassis out and the amp behaves itself. I didn't like this wire. I don't love the design of this. Here's the input jack here, or obviously, you know, these 4 are input jacks, and here is the screened lead from the input jack going all the way over here to the preamp valve. That's quite a long old route. That's the sort of thing that, you know, that could pick up a bit of oscillation, but I've bent it over here to see if it kicks it off, but there's nothing happening there at all. So I guess all I can do now with this amp is, I think I'll switch it off, let it cool down, because it did oscillate pretty much immediately on switch on, so maybe as it gets warm it all calms down and doesn't oscillate, and give it another try, see if we can get the thing to kick off. It's very hard to fix an amp if it's not faulty. You can't start looking around and trying things. So I'll turn the amp off now, let it cool down, and rejoin you when it's cold, and we'll turn it on again from scratch. Okay, it could be a red herring, but I was just messing around with some wires here and noticed that this wire here is very sensitive. If I lift it up, you hear that? Whoa! Whoa, that is not right. So I'm not sure where that goes to, that blue one. It's not obvious, it certainly doesn't go here. It's green, and there are no blues over here. So I need to find out where that pin 9 of V2 goes to. That is, ooh, I don't like that at all. So I think I'd like to sort out what's going on there and then see if that is the problem. Right, well, I felt lazy because I couldn't really see an easy way of taking this board out here. I don't like these boards that are hardwired in with wires on both sides, which makes it impossible to lift the board and look underneath it. So I thought, well, I'll just have a go at this joint here. It didn't look great when I looked at it under the eyeglass, so I thought I'll just give that a quick go. And I went over that joint with a soldering iron, and interestingly enough, it's completely cured that horrible pop banging noise when I moved this wire. Now, we may not be home and dry yet. That might have been a complete red herring, and the oscillation might still be there. So it's jury out at the moment, but at least we cured that problem by doing a dry joint on that pin there. So now I'm just going to turn the camera off now and let it cool down, power it up, see if I can get it to oscillate up here on the bench. So I'll catch you if and when that happens. When I turned it on, it was grumbling away a little bit, just the odd spit and tiny pop, nothing like we heard originally with the motorboating. So I decided to pull the preamp valves and have a look. The customer said it had been revalved, but I'm not sure that's the case. We have an original Marshal ECC83 and a couple of Chinese unmarked valves. I don't know what they are, so I think these are probably the original valves. Also, the power valves are marked Marshal, and I suspect are the original valves that came with the amp. I'm going to leave those for the moment. I might have a look at those if we are still in trouble. I'm just going to pop a new set of ECC83s in there to see if we can calm down this spitting noise. Right, I've popped in a set of JJ preamp valves, and I noticed, look, if I tap this one, that's quite sensitive, and that's the same valve that we hear that? That's the same valve that I did that solder joint on. So not happy about that. Next thing I'm going to do is take that valve out, squirt some deoxit down on the pins and see if it's just dirty pins. If that doesn't work, well, I'll let you see if that works or not, but if that doesn't, the next thing is to go over all the solder joints on that valve base and see if we can calm this down, because see, I don't like that at all. Slightest touch on there. Okay, let's give it some deoxit and see what happens. I'm not very optimistic about this because the valve base looks very clean, and of course we've taken the valve out and we've put the valve in, and that has the effect of wiping the contacts and usually gets rid of any horrible corrosion, but they look pristine to me looking down here. Anyway, let's give it a bit of deoxit, and then we can pop the valve back in. Trying to do this one-handed whilst holding the camera. There you go. And just kind of wiggle it about a bit as I push it in. Make sure it's seated properly. If that was corrosion on the valve base or dirt, that will definitely have solved it. So let's turn on and see if we have. Not terribly optimistic. Never know though. Okay, I can hear that's come up now. No, there you go. Ooh, nasty, nasty, nasty. Okay, Oh, and it's grumbling away again as well, which I like. Hear all that racket? Horrible. Okay, I'm going to flip the chassis over again, have another look at the valve base here. Yeah, it's playing up nicely now. Just very quickly before I flip the chassis open, I noticed that I've got the valve in a position now where there's no grumbling, and if I just move the valve slightly this way, look. It kicks off quite nicely. There you go. I'm just holding the valve slightly tensioned towards my thumb, and you can hear all that racket. Push it back that way and it all calms down. So that's something to do with the connections on the valve base. So let's flip it over and have a look. Okay, back again. First of all, I was wrong. This was the valve that we did the connection on there, on that blue wire, and this is the valve that we were waggling underneath, causing all the mayhem. I've been over all the solder joints on here. The one on the green, actually sorry, the one on the yellow wasn't very good at all. I'm going to put my hand underneath there, you won't be able to see me, but I'm just going to waggle the valve now. You might see the valve base moving a bit. There we go, waggling it around, tapping, banging, and that has completely cured that, that horrible racket. I'm feeling a little bit optimistic actually that that might have been the problem. Both of those problems. There's a dry joint there and a dry joint there. And I'm not hearing any spitting, popping or banging or low level grumbling. I'm just going to now leave the amp on for a little while, and I'm going to turn it off and let it cool down completely, and turn it back on again and see if that motor boating has gone away. I'll let you know the results of the findings, but 75 to 80% confident on this one. Let's see how we get on. Well, there we go. That was quite an interesting one, wasn't it? Tapping around with the old chopstick often shows up some problems, and this turned out to be two rather bad solder connections on the valve bases. So I've put a new set of valves in for the customer, and I've rebiased it as well. I made a little video of the biasing, so if you want to know how to bias this amp, check out that video. And that's another job done. I've got about 10 more amplifiers in the workshop, so I'm going to push on with the next one, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.